While successfully upping the ante year after year as far as things like drama and action go, the historical production has also left a host of other interesting facts and tidbits in its wake as it's gone about making its own spot in television history. This is the untold truth of Vikings. We're used to watching lots and lots of Vikings at this point, so it might surprise you that the show was originally only supposed to run for a mere 9 episodes, a length that the New York Times deemed ambitious.
We're all fated to die on a certain day, yes?
The miniseries, which aired in 2013, came on the heels of History Channel's 3-part hit, Hatfields and McCoys, starring Kevin Costner and Bill Paxton, among others. It brought narrative drama and star power to a network that typically aimed for documentaries and reality TV shows. While not perfect, Hatfields and McCoys showed the network that there could be a significant interest in other dramatized miniseries. Equipped with this knowledge and with a younger male, action-oriented gaming crowd largely in mind, History decided to head out in their long ships in search of their bigger fish. The result? Vikings. Though there is a Ragnar Lothbrok recorded in history, he's also recorded as having lived multiple lives. The tale of the 9th century exploits stretch all over northern Europe, from multiple invasions of East Anglia, during which he was killed by being thrown into a snake pit, to adventures as the King of Denmark that include the battle with the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. It's a bit confusing, which is why it's the perfect stumping ground for a historically dramatized show. Nothing is more factually forgiving than a lack of information. Part of the issue revolves around a severe lack of primary sources, a chronic issue of the region's history. But that makes it easy for the producers to change things around slightly, like the fact that on the show, Ragnar's the king of Norway, rather than Denmark as the original story goes. But whatever, it's close enough.
Odin gave his eye to acquire knowledge. But I would give far more.
Most of our information on the Vikings actually comes from the perspective of the victims. We do have a handful of other Scandinavian myths that have been passed down through the ages and help round out the picture a little bit, like the god-infused Elder Edda and the heroic Volsunga saga. Perhaps Vikings' unheralded success can be partly attributed to the luck of the Irish, since a large portion of the filming is done in Ireland. The Island of Destiny has also been home to numerous other big-budget productions, such as Game of Thrones and Braveheart. Vikings has definitely made the most of the lush and just plain gorgeous landscapes that the island nation offers. Many of the scenes of Ragnar and his loyal followers setting out on their long ship, for example, are actually filmed on a man-made lake nestled in the Wicklow Mountains. From Scandinavia to England to France, most of the sites depicted in Vikings ultimately trace their origins to the Emerald Isle. Even the epic scenes involving the medieval Paris are actually filmed on the River Boyne, with the city simply filled in via CGI afterward. Catherine Winnick plays Lagertha, a shield maiden who's never afraid to step in the fray. A strong, independent woman who doesn't take any crap from her husband, the character offers a reasonably accurate reflection of the history the show draws on for inspiration, especially when compared to the rest of the male-dominated medieval world.
And I've dreamt of taking back my home. I've dreamt it for a long time.
Winnick definitely looks the part, but it isn't just her blonde locks and believably Viking demeanor that make her a great fit for Lagertha. Just as important, she's a martial arts expert, and we mean that literally. Winnick holds a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo and a 2nd-degree black belt in karate. As if that wasn't impressive enough, she also founded and owned 3 different martial arts schools by the age of 21. No wonder those action sequences seem to come to her so naturally. Travis Fimmel, who plays the dominant, power-hungry lead role, may have a few things in common with his on-screen counterpart, but they're actually totally different. Before he was known as a Viking warlord, Fimmel became famous for causing accidents as an underwear model. The actor's life has been marked by a meteoric rise from his humble beginnings growing up on a dairy farm in Australia, but it wasn't a seamless transition to acting fame.
Yeah, I'm a little farm boy. I love all that little running around and having fun, you know.
Fimmel took a bit of a detour when he stumbled onto a different sort of stardom in the early 2000s as a Calvin Klein model. He reportedly made enough of an impression on an early billboard that an uptick of car accidents was reported after it went up. That's pretty flattering, but Fimmel doesn't seem to have loved the gobs of attention he got over his physique, eventually withdrawing into private life before re-entering the spotlight as an actor. Another fascinating but subtle truth to the show involves the languages being spoken, or sometimes gutturally grumbled on the set. Those aren't just strange words, they're ancient languages being brought back to life. Vikings producers have brought in experts to resurrect languages like Old Norse, Anglo-Saxon, and even Old Low Franconian. The man responsible for the delivery of these tongues is Paul Mosalides, an Irish-born voice actor proficient in countless European accents. He's been involved in many other productions, including The Tudors and Reign, and is the established linguistic authority on the Viking set. That doesn't mean Mosalides works alone. The lines are written for the script and then translated by linguistic historians before Mosalides takes them to the actors and works with them to ensure that their pronunciations are correct. They each have a week to learn their lines, and it's a hard and fast rule that there can be no last-minute rewriting that will require going through the whole process all over again. The folks at the History Channel took a gamble on a historically based drama with Vikings, and it paid off big time. With that success still going full throttle, it's officially graduated to the next level of cultural impact, being adapted into books and video games. Multiple comic books have been written around characters based directly from those from the show. In addition to the graphic novels, MGM Interactive and Fifth Planet Games announced in 2017 that they were teaming up to release a player versus player mobile game that will be based on the series. It's got to be a rule out there somewhere that you can't truly claim cinematic fame until someone's created a game with your face in it.
The gods are having a good time with me today.
The cast of Vikings has arrived. When Vikings was just getting off the ground, there were some actors who specifically auditioned for various roles to only end up playing someone else. Clive Standen, for example, eventually ended up taking the role of Ragnar's jealous, muscle-bound brother Rollo, but he originally auditioned for the role of Ragnar Lothbrok himself. Stanton explained to Collider that he was initially asked to read for the part of Ragnar, but when the decision was made to go with Travis Fimmel instead, he happily accepted the role of Rollo, a character he actually preferred to play. As it turns out, Fimmel, who's found enormous popularity playing Ragnar, actually started by auditioning for Floki, played by the talented Gustav Skarsgård.
I actually wanted to play Floki originally, but Gustav was already cast, and he did it way better than I could ever do it.
Clearly, this is one case when casting directors could see something the actors didn't, and all of these seasons later, it's hard to argue with their decision. In the fourth season of Vikings, the show got an extra boost of star power when Major League Baseball player Josh Donaldson dropped in for a cameo appearance. A big fan of the show, the bringer of rain got to do what most people dream of, getting dressed up as a Viking and actually getting on the set in front of the camera.
This is something that I've always wanted to do.
This isn't the only side gig for the busy MLB star, as Donaldson has also shown interest in a part-time MMA career in his free time. Most professional athletes have a good portion of their year that could be categorized as downtime, and it seems that Donaldson just doesn't know how to sit still. Perhaps we're witnessing the blooming of an acting career that started in a dugout. Or maybe we're just seeing another facet of an endless entertaining world of rabid fandom. Either way, the guest appearance was definitely a hit. The show has always had a very uncomfortable way of getting under viewers' skin, but before the narrative-driven violence and gore even has a chance to begin upsetting people's stomachs, the discomfort kicks off in each episode with a haunting opening theme. It isn't just a way to be kind of morbidly artistic. The sequence actually has some original Viking inspiration. It's based on an old Scandinavian folktale that tells of 9 sisters, the goddesses of the waves, who were known to pluck Vikings right out of their vessels and draw them to a sensual grave. Creepy? Yes. Fitting for the show about warriors obsessed with honor, violence, pleasure, and untimely death? Absolutely. When it comes to Vikings, the wealth isn't actually in the ships, it's behind the scenes. Many shows boast impressive budgets, and some projects, like Amazon's Lord of the Rings series, are positively swimming in cash. But a show about Vikings produced by the History Channel? Let's just say the series didn't initially scream big budget.
Do you know of it? Why are you so certain that it's a land of great riches?
Well, that's apparently not what the execs at History thought. They seem to have signed up hook, line, and longboat right from square one. In fact, the first season alone was reportedly infused with a staggering $40 million budget. That's a serious chunk of change, especially for a show with few recognizable actors that was originally supposed to be a quick miniseries about seafaring raiders. Considering the sustained run of popularity and overall success that Vikings has managed to maintain, however, it appears that execs saw something early and decided to steer into the skid with everything they had. And for that, we're all thankful. When Vikings is brought up, it inevitably conjures an image of a bearded Ragnar Lothbrok plotting leading raids and vying for power in one way or another. Of course, Lothbrok's story ended with his execution by means of a snake pit midway through Season 4, and the show had to leave him to Valhalla as it moved on with his bickering sons.
I shall not enter Odin's hall with fear.
Interestingly enough, it wasn't just Ragnar who got bit by some snakes on that fateful day. It turns out that Fimmel felt some teeth as well. When he was asked if he had qualms about working with snakes in his final hours as Ragnar, the actor shrugged off the question with an initial "not really," before following it up with the statement that, "I was covered in snake poop at the end. I got bitten a few times, but I was fine. It was them pooping on me that annoyed me more than anything." You know an actor was cut out to portray a fearsome warlord when they choose to criticize snake excrement over a snake bite. Dudes with swords, excessive violence, and obsession with treasures and power? We're talking about Game of Thrones here, right? Vikings has hit its fair share of comparisons, but one of the most persistent is the question of whether it holds up when compared to HBO's Game of Thrones. After all, the two series aired concurrently and simultaneously portrayed power-hungry families duking it out for dictatorial authority in medieval, Northern European-themed settings. Shouldn't they be compared? Not if one Viking actor has anything to say about it. Clive Standen pointed out how he disapproves of his show being compared to its high fantasy counterpart. Sure, there are similarities, but Standen makes the point that it's comparing uber violence, ultra bloody apples and oranges. He argues that Game of Thrones is fantasy and can lean on elements like dragons, while Vikings is tethered, at least tenuously, to reality and a hardline historical narrative. Considering the significant limitations that this imposes on the show, it really does seem unfair to contrast it to a fictional epic, not that we're comparing. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.